Building a business alone is probably one of the most difficult things that I've ever embarked upon. Ever embarked upon. You hear me? So, building a business alone makes you feel so overwhelmed, underprepared, and underachieved all at the same time. You don't know which direction you should be going or if it's the right time to go in a certain direction. And given your industry, you probably can't even afford to go in any direction at that time. But when I chose to build my business, I chose to build something that I could control as far as leverage. So I chose a product that required a skill, a certification, rather than maybe a, a physical product to sell. So I chose to sell a service. I chose to sell insurance, life insurance, particularly. And so I sell IULs, and that is where I make my part time income. Now, I also have a full time job because when you're building a business, you have to maintain your bills. Well, I recognized that I didn't want to be an employee. I wanted to have complete freedom and autonomy in my life. I didn't want to have to worry about being a regular cultural fit in order to earn my spot on the schedule. I thought that, like, whatever I produced, my effort, my integrity on the job, I thought that should be enough to convince whoever hired me from day one to keep me around, especially if I am performing and hitting above metrics and meeting expectations and beyond. And I am meeting the qualifications of my position. That turned out to not be the case most of the time. I found that most of the time what determined how long you would truly stay on the job is how well people liked you, how well you were considered to be a good cultural fit. And that is where I found being a misfit was my detriment in so many different ways, in so many different places. But the workplace wasn't the first place, and it wasn't the only place. It was my entire life. I kind of knew I had a feeling that I don't quite fit in here. In all of these different environments, with all of these different people, I always had this inkling, this feeling that I am not quite fitting in, and I'm not socially acceptable. I don't have the social value that I perceive others are receiving and perceiving from each other. I always felt like I was the odd man out standing against the wall, and I was. That's who I was all throughout school, all throughout elementary school, junior high school, and high school. Never even went to prom. So that just gave you an idea of like my social skill set. My social skills were never on cue, um, growing up when it comes to feeling like I was fitting in. And so I learned that as an adult, that didn't change. Although I wanted it to, and I tried re-envisioning myself, reimagining myself, and just taking a different approach with people. And I noticed that more times than not, I just would come across even more awkward, even more strange, even more unrelatable. So I just could never dial that algorithm down. And by the time I lost my last job, I decided that my last job was going to be the last job. That the very next thing that I put that much effort and energy into would be into building my own business somehow, some way. I didn't know where my value would be. I didn't know how to find it, but I knew if I dug in deep enough that I could come across something that I could sell, and I could produce some type of service or add value to produce income in my life. And at first I thought that thing was going to be real estate, and still kind of is. But what really captivated my interest, what really took me, because I could see the immediate value that I could have for people and the difference that I could make in people's lives was life insurance, selling life insurance, and the commission from selling life insurance, and how much that changed my life, and the opportunity and the freedom of my time, and the idea of entrepreneurship, the power that no one could tell me that I couldn't go to work today. No one could tell me what time to start work or get off of work today. No one could tell me how big I could imagine my life 5 years from now, because I'm not on an hourly rate pay scale. My income is directly reflective of how creative I can be, how skilled I can be, how focused I can be, and how committed I can be. I'm my own competition, my own laziness, my own discipline, my own mindset, my own self development. All of that will determine how far I am able to see my life 5 years from now. All of that will take into calculation in the equation of the effort of where I will be 5 years from now in my own business. Now, I do work full time still. I do have a full time job while building this business, but I am very passionate about building a business from the ground, building a business from the bootstraps, doing it all alone, doing it by myself, and making sure that I produce results, that I produce effort, that I produce change in my own life. And that is what this channel is about. It's about everyone that wants to build a business for themselves, everyone that, not just people that don't see themselves working traditional 9 to 5, the cliche mantra, but those that really see themselves working and putting that type of effort, that type of vigor, that type of sweat equity into their own vision, into their own riches, into their own future, instead of instead of making someone else's vision, instead of creating someone else's wealth. How about focusing on creating yours? And for me, I found the best way that I wanted to do that was by also adding value to other people's lives, by helping people, making them aware of the difference of life insurance, and how life insurance isn't just for your your family when you pass away. It's not just a financial tool to make sure that you're buried or cremated and your final arrangements have taken place. Life insurance also protects your wealth while you're still living. Life insurance stops you from having to take out predatory loans during times of hardship. When the economy retracts and interest rates go sky high, you don't have to go to a bank that's going to judge you based on your credit score to take out a predatory loan. You can go to your life insurance policy and withdraw an interest-free loan. That is the purchase of one of the purposes of life insurance, and that's called a living benefit. A lot of life insurance policies now have living benefits, whereas if you get diagnosed with cancer or a heart attack or some other major heart disease, you get a $30,000 to $50,000 tax-free payout from your life insurance policy, which has nothing to do with your death benefit. You'll still get that too. And so, just educating families on how life insurance does financially protect families from one generation to the next. That is what my business is about. That is how I want to add value to families. That is the service that I want to provide. And learning how to scale that, learning how to sell more policies, learning how to become more visible to more customers, adding value to my message line, adding value to my industry, making sure that people understand that life insurance is not just a scam, but life insurance is a life changing product and it can change your life while you're still alive. That is where I want to focus this channel on. Not my business, but on my journey of building a business. And if you are a like minded individual, maybe you work a 9 to 5, and you're also building a business, maybe you have a passion project, a side project that you vigorously focus on, and you struggle from week to week finding time to work on your own personal passion project, I want you to follow this channel, like this video, and subscribe to this channel, because I am going to take you on my journey, and I am going to teach you and show you how I have scaled my business while working my 45-hour a week job, and how I have doubled my income doing that, and why I don't want to stop, and also how I have leveraged, maneuvered time and priority, how I scale those two to make sure that I get the maximum out of my 24 hours in a day. And when you are building a business, when you are just starting, you don't have these skill sets yet. You don't have these disciplines yet. These are things that will build over time, but not if you give up. You have to stay in the fight. You have to stay in the game. So this is for people that are in that like-minded community, people that want to encourage each other to stay in the game. So again, if you like this message, please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for your time.